Loving this sunshine. Oh, feels so good. Actually, one of my favorite things to do is to hang on the back deck. Take it in the rays, cold bevy in hand. But you want that deck looking good. So, we're helping you out today with a company with the best name around. This is Ken from Deck Deck Goose.
Yes.
How you doing, Ken?
I'm good, Tim. Yourself?
Let's start with that name, man. Did you wake up in the middle of the night? You're like, I got it!
It was pretty close to that. Pretty close to that. Literally, it was just a fun play on words, and you remember it. Deck Deck Goose. Every so often I get that person who goes, I tried to find you, and I kept typing in Duck Duck Goose.
Right.
But everybody just loves it. Deck Deck Goose, and I love the logo.
Okay. There's the logo right there.
And there's the logo right there.
Amazing.
We call him Deke.
There's Deke, all right.
Yeah. Canadian loon.
We do have the president of the company here this morning too. This is your 8-year-old daughter,
this is
Melanie. Hello, Melanie. How are you? She is the boss, so she has to be out here.
She is the boss. Yes, absolutely.
Getting us working on your deck. Okay. You do a couple things. You build somebody a deck.
We build. We also do rehab, so we'll replace boards, handrails without doing a full rebuild, and we also refinish.
Okay, so we're working on rehabs today.
Yes.
Right. So that deck that's been around for a number of years that doesn't have the same pizzazz that it used to. Okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. So we're gonna throughout the morning we're gonna go through the steps of how to rehab it, but we want to start with some of the wood that you would be using on the deck.
Yeah, your most commonly used woods are pressure treated and cedar.
Okay.
The example you have right there is pressure treated. Those of us old enough to remember the ugly green stuff, that stuff's gone the way of the dinosaur. It's long since gone. Pressure treated nowadays, it's a lot more environmentally friendly, a lot nicer look to it, a lot easier to handle.
What's the price of pressure treat right now? Has it gone up big time over the past year?
In the past year, it's gone up significantly. We're starting to see a bit of a leveling off, and they're saying we're going to see an industry correction too. It is still fairly high, so please don't take it out on your carpenter when he gives you the quote for what the price is going to be.
So pressure treat, cedar.
Cedar.
Okay, difference between these two.
Okay, cedar naturally has that reddish tone to it. Much nicer to work with, much nicer finished product to it. However, it is more expensive. You're looking at a difference of approximately 40 to 50% more than pressure treated.
Okay, so why would you go for cedar then?
Well, it's what you ask yourself, why did you go out and buy yourself a Ford Mustang? Because it's just beautiful and it performs.
Well, so how old is this deck that we're standing on?
The deck we're on here is 30 years old.
30 years old, and this is cedar.
This is cedar. It's very, very old.
So some of it has been sanded, right?
Yes.
So you're still like, that's a 30-year-old piece of wood.
That is.
That has been sanded, and it's looking great again.
By all rights, that should have had to have been replaced, but I've maintained it, taken care of it, and it's still holding up just nicely.
What's the biggest mistake that we do when we're rehabbing our decks?
We don't take the proper time to do the prep work. Prep work is everything. A lot of people decide that I'm just going to put on a coat of stain, and what do? Out comes the stain, it goes into the tray, they put it on. Power washing is important to get all the dirt and grime off the top. Sanding is important to remove all the loose fibers from it.
Okay, because Luke, pop over here for a second, because this is what you're getting, because that one's been, but this hasn't been power washed at all.
This has not been touched at all.
Okay, so this is what you're getting. Yeah, you're getting like some sap down here, any like barbecue stuff down here. So you need to do a power wash first. That's the first step.
Power wash, remove, as you can see, the trees around here, the grease from your barbecue, the loose fibers from the wood. Okay. All of that gets taken off.
Then sand.
Then we're going to sand.
Okay, and then we're staining.
Then we're going to stain.
Those are the steps. And that's what we kind of want to do today. Let's go through each and every step to help people at home. But these are services that you do.
Absolutely.
Right? Where are we at right now as far as busyness goes? Like,
we're looking at the end of July, start of August.
Okay.
Part of it is, I'll be honest, we don't cut corners on our work. If it's going to take time, if you're going to do it, you better do it right. When you hire us, we treat it like we're doing our own home, so we're not going to cut corners. I'm not in the market to be the guy who shows up and slaps a quick coat of stain and runs away.
Amazing. Melanie, how'd that first segment go? Oh, thumbs up? Okay, so we'll use that one, Luke, all right? Melanie, the president of the company of Deck Deck Goose, says we're okay. So we'll come back and we'll do some power washing, some sanding, some staining, get your deck looking nice on Morning Live. Step one in our rehabbing of our deck, the power wash. Got the best power washer in the biz, Owen, manning the controls here with Deck Deck Goose. Back with Ken and president of Deck Deck Goose, his daughter Melanie. Morning, guys. Okay, so power washing.
Yes.
Okay. Why so important?
Okay, your deck is going to get covered in lots of different things: dirt, grime, sap from trees, barbecue grease. Sanding isn't going to remove that. As much as you'd like to tell yourself I can just sand it, it's not going to remove it. Okay. Secondly, it's also going to help remove any loose wood fibers you have. It's also going to help loosen up any stain you need to take off. So it's important to get that first step down, because if you have grease on your deck, grime, when you sand it, you just move it around.
Okay. Hey, stop her for a sec. Okay, so what do we, so yeah, look at the difference there that he's taken. All of that stuff is the stuff that you want to take off. How powerful does the power washer need to be?
Generally something around 1,700 to 3,000 PSI. It's more how you use the tips. I absolutely do not recommend gas power washers. They're too powerful.
Yeah, this is just a plug-in, right?
It's just a plug-in electric. You can pick it up at a Home Depot, Canadian Tire, or Lowe's, anything like that. The secret is using it properly, don't get too aggressive, and certainly stay away from the gas ones, because they're just too powerful for everyday use.
Okay, because so Owen was doing this before, so this is what you're getting when you finish the power wash.
Absolutely.
Okay. So all of that grime is out of there. We're still getting some of the old stain in there, but that's okay?
We're going to take that off when it's time to sand.
Okay, and that's something that a lot of people don't do, is the sanding portion.
Sanding is absolutely necessary. If it's a new wood, what you want to do is sand it to get off the mill glaze. I do recommend letting a new deck or fence sit for a year before staining. Some people get excited. If they do, sand that mill glaze off.
Okay, why do you have to wait a year after you put that new wood on?
So when your lumber comes out, it has what's called mill glaze on it. Mill glaze is a mixture of the wood going through high-speed planers and the sap and the dust from the planers coming together. You'll feel a new piece of wood, it's almost perfectly smooth to it. That's mill glaze. It's almost like a waxy finish.
So wait a year before you're doing anything to it.
Wait a year, let Mother Nature take that off.
And get back to her. Good work there, pal. And then when you're doing this, you need to be power washing every year. If you power wash, sand, stain, is that a yearly thing, upkeep?
No, you're looking about 3 to 5 years. Every year you want to clean it, but sanding and staining it 3 to 5 years.
If you're doing it properly. Because I've power washed every year, but I've never sanded.
Yes.
And that's why I'd have to do it every year.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's take a break. Deck Deck Goose can do all this for you, so reach out to them. We'll get into that sanding portion when we come back on Morning Live. Well, morning, everybody. Welcome back to Deck Deck Goose. We're getting your deck looking, I don't know, nicer. Because after the wear and tear, it kind of needs a little sprucing up. Back with Ken from Deck Deck Goose. And this is something that I've never done, Kenny, because we've had our deck for 5-6 years, power wash, which we did in our last segment, and never sand.
Yeah, power washing is important to take off those loose wood fibers, get rid of the grease, get rid of the sap from the trees, but it's not a substitute for sanding.
So here, if you missed the last segment, so the difference between the two, so this is the power wash.
Yeah, so you can see we've taken off a lot of the stain here, but we haven't taken off all of it. When you get closer to it over to the right, closer to you there, that's been sanded. Now, we're putting a solid stain on this, so there's different levels of sanding. Solid stain, you don't have to sand it as vigorously. Okay. If we're going to go with a clear coat, we'd actually go over this another time to sand it and get the grain perfectly clear, taking out all the gray.
So if you're just power washing and then you're putting stain on that, what's that mean?
What happens is this here, the solid parts of the stain haven't been opened up. So when you put more stain on top, it doesn't penetrate into the wood.
Okay. So then what kind of sander, like this is a pretty serious sander you got going on here.
That it is.
Do you need something like this?
It makes life a heck of a lot easier.
Is it? Okay.
I'll be honest, back in the day, I've done it with an orbital sander and a palm sander, but you reach a point where you don't want to be killing yourself just to enjoy your deck. It's a lot less enjoyable if you spend 3 days on your hands and knees crawling back and forth, inhaling dust, instead of using a large unit like this.
Okay, so you just rent something like this?
You can rent one of these, you can purchase one of these. I own 2 of them.
Right.
You can rent them, though, at all your typical big box home hardware stores.
But this is something that you guys do, too,
Absolutely.
Right? Okay, so when you call it rehabbing,
yes.
Right? So you're coming and totally redoing somebody's deck.
Yep, if you have boards that need to be replaced, we'll pop this out, we'll put brand new boards in. Okay. Handrails that need to be replaced, no problem, we'll take care of that. Anything that comes up, has to do with that deck, we'll take care of it.
Any technique that you need to know when you're sanding, or?
Take your time, don't rush it, and just be prepared to work really hard because it's heavy.
Is it? Can I give her a go?
Absolutely. Come on around here.
Like, is there a certain way you got to be running with the grain or against the grain?
You always are sanding with the grain of the wood. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna push it in the black button here on the side. Right. Give her a squeeze.
Ooh, look out. Okay, we'll continue sanding here with Deck Deck Goose. When we come back, though, it's staining time on Morning Live. The staining begin. Morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome back. All morning long, we've been kind of showing how you can rehab your deck with Deck Deck Goose. We did some power washing. We've done some sanding. Now comes the fun part of the staining. I'm with the president of the company, Melanie. Hello, Melanie. How are you? Yeah, and her dad, Ken. Hey, Ken.
Jim.
Okay, so we're on to the staining part, right?
Yes.
All that hard work that we put in, power washing, sanding, is what you see, the benefits of the stain.
This is the easy part when all is said and done.
Okay.
All the hard work that goes into it, you want a nice, smooth, clean surface to work with. The power wash and the sanding leads to this. 90% of it's the prep work, 10% is the staining. Anybody can do this as long as they relax and focus, put the hard work in on the front end, beautiful results on the back end.
Okay, so what type of stain to choose, I guess, is the question.
What we're applying here is a semi-transparent stain.
Are we applying both the same type of stain?
We are, and
Okay.
that's one of the individualities of wood, because every piece of wood's different. Every piece of cedar is going to be different. So what you're looking at here is a semi-transparent. Now this here will color the wood and will allow you to still get the grain of the wood to come through, but it won't completely hide it the way a solid stain would. Later on, we're going to apply a solid stain to the floor, but you're going to see here, we're still getting that lovely tone of the wood coming through, and we're getting that color to it. The nice richness is coming out.
What type of stain? Where are we getting the stain from?
You can get this at my store, Standard Paint and Wallpaper in Burlington.
Okay.
We carry Seco Pro Lux, Olympic, and Penafin stains. All excellent products, and they stand behind them.
Any technique when you're staining, like just simple strokes down until the brush is done and back up again?
Don't hesitate to let the stain do the work. Don't get your brush too dry.
Okay.
Always try to keep a wet edge to it. So don't go to a board, jump to another board and come back. Just work your way.
Finish the board like I didn't do there. Okay. So we're working on the boards, but then let's get to the floor too, because we want to show that off as well. Okay.
Okay.
What do we got for the floor here, Ken? Yeah, Melanie, you finish that up.
So what we're going to do here is floors, the fantastic part about a floor is you can roll it. So just like painting, save yourself a lot of work, use an extension pole.
Right.
You don't need to get on your hands and knees to do this, okay?
So this isn't translucent though?
No, this is a solid. It's going to hide like a paint, but it's still going to penetrate into the wood to help protect.
How do you know what to choose though, if you want a translucent or a solid?
Well, what you want to go with, if your wood's in good condition, or you can make it look really nicely, and you like the look of wood, the natural tones that come from a semi-transparent or translucent,
Right.
go translucent. If your deck's a little older, needs a little bit of work, stick to a solid. It's a little less maintenance in the long term, a little more work on the front end, but it holds up really nicely, very easy to complement the colors with, and everything looks even.
Let's apply some of that to see what it looks
Okay.
like. As far as how many coats do you need?
Always recommend 2 coats on a solid. Your first coat's really going to penetrate, the second one's going to offer surface protection to it.
What about wetness of the wood?
Ideally, you want it to be under a minimum of 15% moisture content. Simple trick if you don't have a moisture meter is to pick up a piece of paper, literally just note paper, tape it down all the way around onto your floor. If you take the piece of paper off the next day and it's wet, it's too wet for you to be able to stain.
Something that you're doing kind of here? Something like this?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Just protect it. You'll see what you're going to go with the content.
Okay, so that hopefully throughout the morning we've kind of given you some tips, but again, you can do this for folks, right? If it is a little bit too much, maybe if I don't know, you're not as active and don't want to be out there working, Deck Deck Goose offers these type of services.
Absolutely. Deck
Okay.
Deck Goose will rehab decks, fences, gazebos, pergola. We do construction. We do repairs.
Okay.
Pretty much anything to do with exterior wood, we'll take care of it.
How
for
are
you.
we doing as far as what are we booking into?
We are looking late July, early August. Right now the weather's cooperating with us, and knock on wood, it'll continue to do so we can get these projects wrapped up quickly.
Melanie?
Yeah,
Come here. How am I doing?
good.
Not bad? Approval? I'm getting approval from the president of Deck Deck Goose, so that's a good thing. We'll continue working on this. Happy decking, everybody!